to KOTU last year has been delivered. The deposit required of application for allocation of an affordable housing unit has now come down from 10% to 5%. This applies to every salaried Kenyan, and the reduction has already been codified in our allocation framework. This deposit has been codified also in the affordable housing regulations, which were passed in 2025 and have since been applied. Second, on the engagement of workers in the allocation of housing units, every salaried worker by law is eligible and qualified for an affordable housing unit. We only have one rule: one ID, one home. There should never be a situation where one worker gets more than one house when other workers have never gotten a single house. This means you can only benefit once from this program. The pathway to ownership is straightforward. Register on Boma Yangu platform, select a preferred unit, complete the application, and you will be considered for allocation. Many of the Kenyans who have been allocated homes are themselves trade union members, civil servants, teachers, nurses, and disciplined officers. The system does not ask whether an applicant carries a union card before allocating a home. It only asks whether you are a Kenyan worker who has stepped forward to claim what is rightfully yours. I therefore invite KOTU and every affiliate union to actively mobilize their members to register on Boma Yangu and apply. The State Department for Housing and Urban Development stands ready to work with KOTU and all the other unions on a structured outreach to campaign and guide every interested worker through the application process. Where there are specific cases of workers who have applied and not been served, please bring them forward and we will resolve them. On the recognition of construction workers as skilled professionals, I agree entirely. And I am pleased to note that the framework the Secretary General has asked for is already in place and is delivering results. The National Industrial Training Authority certifies trade qualifications across the construction sector. The National Construction Authority accredits and registers contractors and skilled workers. And through our recognition of prior learning program, which we are running directly in the affordable housing program, we are formally certifying artisans whose skills were learned on the job. To date, more than 2,000 artisans have been certified through this program, including 180 women. These certifications open the door to formal contracts, higher wages, and the international labor markets the Secretary General has rightfully identified. Let me also confirm to the Secretary General of KOTU that I agree that outsourcing must equally be brought into the ambit of making sure that they treat workers fairly and remunerate them fairly, and that they too pay statutory government payments. On the right of workers enshrined in Article 41 of our Constitution, the right to fair labor practices, to organize and to bargain collectively, let me restate that these rights are not negotiable, and that this government will defend them without compromise. Every worker enjoys the full protection of our labor laws. And in close partnership with KOTU, the Federation of Kenya Employers, and the Ministry of Labor, we will ensure that these protections are not merely written in law, but they are consistently upheld and rigorously enforced in practice. Regarding healthcare, It is equally important to acknowledge that the concerns we have recently seen from teachers and other public servants arise not from the rejection of SHA, but from the transitional operational challenges, as has been stated by the Secretary General. In the early stages, measures introduced to safeguard the financial sustainability of the fund, such as temporary outpatient caps, created unintended friction. In some cases, this led to unacceptable practices by a few facilities, including demands for co-payments or even outright denial of service. However, let me assure all workers, especially teachers and public officials, that those challenges are being decisively addressed. The government has already withdrawn the restrictive tariff mechanisms and initiated a structured nationwide engagement with healthcare providers. These negotiations will culminate in updated agreements that guarantee a seamless, zero co-payment. Let me say it again, zero co-payment, walk-in, walk-out experience for all teachers and public officers. I am equally pleased to inform our workers that following my directive to ratify the International Labour Organization Convention number 189 on decent work for domestic workers and ILO Convention number 190 on the elimination of violence and harassment in the world of work, the National Labour Board has completed the ratification process. The Ministry of Labour is now in the final stages of preparing the necessary instruments for submission to Cabinet in accordance with the Treaty Making and Ratification Act and other applicable frameworks. My assurance to you, Secretary General, and the Labour fraternity in Kenya is that as we go on the fast to Wajir to celebrate our Madaraka Day, we will have made sure that these instruments are in Parliament for final ratification. Finally, in recognition of the sacrifice, resilience, and immense contribution of our workers to the growth and stability of our economy, and with the request that has been made by Brother Atuoli and the Labour fraternity, I am going to make some announcements on the increase. But before I make those announcements, wacha nichukue nafasi hii kwa ndugu wananchi